Hello and welcome to another episode of Shield Wolf's Game Review, where I review strategy and RPG games that are typically vintage and out of print, but not always. As always, for the YouTube algorithm, please like, share, subscribe, and drop a comment in the space provided below. If you have anything that you'd like to add in terms of links or information that might be appropriate, please provide that information in your comment, and if I think it works, I will also put that in the description so people could link out to it. Typically, I'm going to be using images from my own collection, so this probably won't even apply, but I'm going to put it up there anyway, just in case. Deep dive into the Aftermath box set published by Fantasy Games Unlimited in 1980. This is my actual box set, purchased in 1990 when I was about 13 and a half years old. Hence the rather rough condition of the box. Better examples of this are still available for sale here and there, and the eBay price seems to be around $100 for an example in very good condition. I would say that this is good to maybe fair on the box, whereas the contents are very good in my condition. This is the Fantasy Games Unlimited logo, and they have a lot of really cool stuff, and I'll get into that in a little bit, but this is a great company. They made some really fun things. So, when you see this and you don't know what the price is, but it seems like it's fairly low, probably not a bad idea to buy it. Here's a copyright notice. It's located on the lower right-hand side of the front box cover, as well as obviously inside the books. Here's the credits for pretty much everything inside this box set. Paul Hume and Bob Charette are also credited on the top right-hand side of the box as the primary designers of this game. This is the outside of the box bottom, and there's a couple of things on here of note, specifically the list of the contents of the box. One of the things I thought was kind of peculiar is that they sold this box set without dice, because it does require dice. So I thought that was interesting. They're common dice, so you wouldn't have any problem finding them. If you have any D&D stuff, you're all set anyway, but just interesting they sold a box set without dice. I thought was kind of a weird thing to do. Specifically, you need 6-sided dice and 20-sided dice. So even in the first book, it tells you that you need these dice, but they're not included. Kind of funny. Anyway, thought that would be interesting. Once you take the cover off when it's new, the first thing you would see is the Fantasy Games Unlimited bifold advertisement. And it's full color. It's kind of cool. It's big. It's printed on both sides, and here are the pictures. They have some supplements for Aftermath listed here, and they also have other games listed here. You can see the images, and I particularly had played the Oregon Trail game and Elementary Watson game that other people owned. I thought those were pretty cool. I haven't seen copies of those floating around, so they might be worth buying if you can find them. Here's the flip side of the advertisement, full color again. These are 8.5 by 11, roughly. Fantasy Games Unlimited was located in Roslyn, New York at that time. And this is their game feedback sheet. It's pretty cool that they had this. A lot of game producers had this in the early days where you could send back your critiques, and they would actually use this information to, provide fix, updates, expansions, etc. The flip side of this sheet is essentially a make-it-yourself postcard. You would throw a stamp on this after you folded it, and you would probably tape it shut. These got beat pretty badly in the mail, so people typically put these in their own envelopes if they were hoping that they'd actually make it back to the company. So it's kind of nice that this includes the original sheet. A lot of these actually got sent out, so these aren't typically, they're not in every single box. The first of the 3 booklets included is the 58-page basic rule book, which is like a DM's guide, for lack of a better explanation. It also gets into a lot of rules that the players would have to know. These are also roughly 8.5 by 11, and their covers are a glossy cardstock, whereas the pages inside are typical weight paper that you might find in a Dungeons and Dragons module or something of that kind. The back cover of this one on the inside is also a blank copyable, like photocopyable, blank hex map that you would photocopy it, and then you would use that hex map to draw your own terrain. And the game is set typically on a hex map, but you don't have to play it that way. You can play it, on a tabletop with figures and that kind of thing. Although typically the initial game was for cardboard cutouts to represent characters and vehicles and that sort of thing. So you could do it either way. The tables of contents for all three of the books are really well made in the sense that they're detailed. There's a lot of subcategories. It takes you right to the page. They're accurate. This is one of the many things that they did super well in this game. So if you want to navigate something and you want to find something fairly quickly, it's really easy to do that. This is the back of the first book, but they all look the same. They're very plain. They have just black coloration, again, glossy cardstock, and they all look the same, all three books. Book 2 is the player's handbook, and it covers things like your different ability scores, the use of your equipment, and in the beginning it covers random character generation if that's how your game master wants to proceed. You can also have a character specifically made with specific characteristics based on the game master's preferences. Again, very organized table of contents and easily surfed, if you will. You can see the different categories here. Gives you an idea of what's covered and also the scope of the game. This is a game which is designed to be really easy to play, which is pretty cool. It's not super complicated. Now you can make it more complicated if you wish, and it basically is set up for that purpose. But to play the basic set, it's really simple, really easy. You can spend a couple of hours figuring the book out as a game master and maybe 20 minutes developing a character as a player, and you guys are in business. You can play this game. What I like about it is that it's really easily applicable to other game settings, materials. I like to use advanced squad leader maps when I'm playing this game. A case in point would be the map for Red Barricades, for instance. Because it's a hex-based setting, this is an ideal board set for this game. And, of course, they look cataclysmic because of the fact that it's set in World War II. This is not part of the game of Aftermath, but I did want to show you this map. This is from Advanced Squad Leader. This is the Red Barricades map. And this is a map that I have used with Aftermath. You can see all the cool destroyed buildings and the hex map, which is what the game is sort of designed on. The map itself, if you own this set, is quite large and really suitable for stacking half-inch counters on. So this really does work well for this game. But again, it's not for Aftermath. It just happens to work well with it. Book 3, The World of the Aftermath, is the guidance given to the game master to help him develop the world at large. It also references some of their expansion materials, but the idea is that you can create your own world setting with these guidances, with these guidelines. And this book is 83 pages long with a very small, probably size 10 type font. So there's a lot of information in this book. You're going to be able to get everything you need to start your campaign setting. This is cool because you could set this up as an expansion to your existing campaign world. And, I like this because you could easily convert characters from other campaigns and other rule sets into this, which would be kind of a fun thing to do. Another cool idea is that your characters are actually who they are, and that they find themselves in this Aftermath world with these rules. I've done that with my friends, and they really enjoyed it. Here's a table of contents for Book 3. Another idea is to use a map, and you can superimpose a hex over any map. Use a local map, maybe your hometown or, maybe where you're stationed if you're in the military or whatever, And then imagine that you have to survive with your friends in that location. It's just a cool system. You can really make it your own. Now, if you don't really want to do that at first, you just want to try the game out, it does come with an initial scenario, and it's really well made, very simple, and it comes with everything you need. Of course, it's called Survive, which is really this is a theme of the game. You know, surviving in an environment 20 years after some sort of cataclysmic event and trying to scrounge off the land while definitely defending yourself from hostile entities. The scenario is a trifold printed on both sides. It includes maps and all the instructions you need. I'll let this run for a few seconds so you get a chance to get an idea of this side of the trifold. And this is the flip side of that same trifold. You can see the map and some of the other descriptive information and some of the guidance. So the thing you'll see in the lower right hand corner is a character card, and this is a good thing to take a closer look at. This card comes with the initial scenario. It has the 3 different forces described in the scenario. It also has object markers, which are nothing more than really placeholders for various parts of the campaign setting and different objects that the characters can interact with. Obviously, you can make your own, and I strongly suggest that you do that. You can also do it in color. This is black and white. It's very simple. If you buy one of these sets and this card is not cut up, I would recommend not cutting up. I would recommend leaving it that way. And as I stated before, you could use standard miniatures and just come up with your own rules for movement on a map. I based mine on inches. It's very simple. The original game is set up to operate off of a hex map, and we discussed that a little bit already, but here's what the one in the scenario that's provided looks like. Sort of reminiscent of the Judges Guild maps. You know, they're hex maps with terrain drawn upon them. And this game also provides you with the blank, like I said, at the back of the first cover of the first book, where you can copy the hex background and then just draw your own terrain over it. There's many ways to do this, including with your computer now, obviously. This is what a character sheet looks like on the front. It's fairly simple. Your various ability scores are there, notes. This is something that I have not yet seen in digital format, like a PDF autofill, but that would be really easy to make. And again, here's the back. The player's sheet here, the front and the back that I just showed you, is done in cardstock. This is something that you would make photocopies of, as they only give you one as a master copy. It doesn't call this the Game Master's Shield, but that's essentially what it is. It's a trifold printed on both sides with a bunch of different tables and statistics, and allows the Game Master to hide the rolls. Here's what it looks like unfolded on this side. I'll let it run for a few seconds so you get an ability to take a look at the whole thing. And here's the flip side. Again, I'm going to let it run for a few seconds so you get an idea of what kind of information is located on here. This is the way you would typically have it facing you, because the folds allow you to sort of stand it up this way and conceal your rolls from the players. And there you have it. That's the Aftermath box set. There's quite a few expansions and supplements to this, but they were never made in huge numbers, so finding them is not super easy. However, writing your own supplements to these is super easy, because it's very, very generic and general. And once you have the basic rule set, setting up a scenario like you saw with that trifold, not a lot of information is required. So kind of cool. If you've played Aftermath, and if you have any experience with it, if you want to comment on what you think the quality of the game is, please write a comment in the space provided below. Also, if you have any requests for game systems or different items that you'd like to see covered in these videos, please submit that also in the comments below, and I'll do my best to cover down on all of them eventually.